Hello and welcome to your Lettings Finance training. In this video, we're going to be covering some recommended daily procedures just to help you out with the workflow that you may want to use when moving over to Expert Agent. The workflow will include receiving in your rents, making your landlord payments and producing your remittance advice, processing your contractor and agency payments, raising any contractor invoices that you may have, chasing your rent arrears, and an overview to a few monthly procedures. In this video, we will be looking at all these areas as an overview. For more detailed information on how each of these sections works, you may want to refer back to the relevant videos. So jumping over into Expert Agent, the first financial process we'll look at will be receiving in our rents. So we recommend that you receive in your rental payments from the top finance menu, either using rent arrears or outstanding transactions. What you'll want to do is have your bank statement printed off in front of you or have it on another screen and come to either of these options. And this will give you a list of all your rents that are currently outstanding, so your rents that have charged but haven't yet been paid. And the procedure that we recommend you follow is that you work down your bank statement, marking off the rents as paid as they appear on the statement. So you're going to click the Receive button alongside the rent that's showing on your statement. Confirm the details match and save. And just move down your bank statement, marking each rent off as paid as it appears there. Once you get to the bottom of your bank statement for the day, you'll want to close your outstanding transactions screen down. All those rents that you've recorded as received will have been marked off on the tenancies, and those monies will have been transferred across to the landlord along with any relevant management fees, and those landlords will now be sat ready to be paid, which you can access via the top finance menu, payments and landlord payments. And your landlords will be sat within this section. If you want to have a look at what the balance alongside each landlord is for, you can use the downward facing arrow alongside the landlord just to check that everything is there as it should be, including rent receipts and any relevant invoices. Any landlords who are in red are worth having a look at just to work out why that particular landlord is in red. So with my landlord, Mr. Farrell here, he's in red because he has two properties, 81 Old Foss Road and 89 Queen's Avenue. 81 Old Foss Road has a positive balance of £640.64, whereas 89 Queen's Avenue has a negative balance of £90. Expert Agent wants to know whether you want to use £90 from 81 Old Foss to cover the invoice for 89 Queen's Road, or whether we just want to pay the landlord for 81 Old Foss Road and ignore that invoice for 89 Queen's Road until money comes in on that particular property. So we'll just make our selection accordingly. We're just going to pay the landlord for the one property. Once you're happy with your selections, we're going to click Pay Landlords. Expert Agent will ask us if we're sure if we want to pay these landlords, which we are, so we can click Yes. And that payment will process there for us, and we'll click here to close, which will open up our Payments to Make report, which is the report that we're going to now physically use to make our payments to our landlords from the bank. Assuming that we filled in the records correctly, the screen will show us how much we're paying, who we're paying that money to, the property that the payment is for, and the bank account that that payment needs to go to. We can print this report off or export it to a CSV and log on to our online banking and make those payments. If we use a bank export, we can create the bank export from this screen as well. Once we've physically made those payments, we're probably going to want to send some documentation to our landlords to show them what we've paid for. So in this scenario, we're going to use the remittance for that. So I'm going to click Email Remittance Advice. I'm going to leave my remittance advice grouped by property so that if we've paid our landlords for multiple properties, they get a separate document for each of those properties. We're going to select our email body template. We're going to select our remittance template. I'm going to ask Expert Agent to untick emailed records on completion. So if any of my emails don't go for any reason, those landlords will be left on screen as ticked, so I can then print those remittance off for those particular landlords to post them. And I'm going to click Save. So 3 landlords have been queued up to email, 2 landlords have no email address or have chosen not to receive correspondence by email. I'm going to get a notification when those emails have been sent, but the 2 that haven't gone have remained ticked in this list for me. So I can do print remittance advice for those 2. Again, leave group by property and save. Select my template, and those remittance will open up on screen for me to print, so I can post those 2 to my landlords. The next process we'll want to have a look at is paying any contractors that we have to pay. So again, via our top finance menu, we've got payments and contractor payments. This will be a list of any contractors that have monies available to pay to them. We can do deselect all and just select one particular contractor, but make sure we've got who we want to pay selected, and then we're going to click Pay Contractors. That process will run for us and then open the Payments to Make report. So the same report that we were looking at for our landlords just now, but now we're looking at it for contractors. And again, the report will show us the same information. It will show who needs to be paid and how much. And assuming that we filled in the bank details on that particular contractor record, it will show which account that payment needs to be made to. We can print this report off or export it to CSV and log on to our online banking and physically make those payments, or we can produce our bank export to pay the contractors. We'll then probably want to send some documentation to our contractors to show what those payments have been made for. So again, we're looking at remittance. We're going to email those. So we're going to choose our email body template and our remittance template. And we're going to ask Expert Agent to let us know if there are any emails that can't be sent for whatever reason. And we're going to save. No contractors have been selected to email, so that means none of these 3 contractors have either an email address entered into the system or have been set up to receive emails. So we'll want to print the remittance for those 3. And again, it will open up on the screen so I can print those off. The next bit that you might want to have a look at on a daily basis might be your agency payments. Now, I know some agents will run their agency payments on a daily basis. They'll make a transfer from client to business account daily. Others will do that at the weekend. Others will do that at the month end. Expert Agent will allow you to make that payment whenever you're ready. But when you are ready to make that payment, you're going to come to your top finance menu, payments and agency payments. And this will be a list of all your sales invoices and or credit notes that you have marked as paid and that are available to transfer between the 2 accounts. You can untick any if you want to exclude them from your payment run. And then when you're ready, make payments. That payment will process and it will take you back to your payments to make report. It will give you a list of all the particular invoices within that payments to make report, and at the bottom you'll have a total. So I know that I need to transfer today £1,623.56 out of my client account into my business account. You'll then probably want to either print this report off or export it to a CSV so that you've got a copy of what that payment you made was for. You'll notice that the remittance button has disappeared from this agency payment screen. That's because this is an internal transfer between 2 of your accounts rather than a third party that you're paying, so printing or exporting to CSV will suffice. That's a basic overview of your general daily procedures. Other procedures that you may want to look at as and when are raising your contractor invoices. We recommend that you add your contractor invoices onto Expert Agent as they come in. So if a contractor comes in to you with a pile of invoices that need to be paid, we recommend that you put them on there and then. What will happen is they will then sit on your landlord's records, ready to be deducted from the rents as and when they come in. We'll just look at adding one of those on now. So going from our landlord record, we're going to right-click, Financial, create purchase invoice. We're going to use the Choose button alongside Select Contractor to find our contractor in question and search for them using the quick find. Clicking on them will populate them through into the purchase invoice, and then it's just a case of filling in the information on the right-hand side, making sure you assign the property if your landlord has multiple properties. If they just have the one property, that will be selected for you by default. Entering in the description of the job that's been completed. Selecting the nominal. Entering the invoice number off of the contractor invoice they've brought into you. Confirming the date of that contractor invoice, making sure that matches up with the invoice itself. And entering in the invoice net. Once you've entered in the invoice net, based on whether or not the contractor is set as VAT registered on their contractor record, which you'll find on the Financial Details tab, just here, the VAT will calculate automatically for you. If your contractor is set as not VAT registered, this will pull through as no VAT and the VAT amount will be zero for you, but the total will always calculate itself. So you're always entering in the net amount and the rest will work itself out for you based on how you've set your contractor up in the first place when entering them into the system. If you've got a commission or uplift to put on, you can at this point, and then you're going to save, and so on, working through the rest of your invoices you need to add. Closing my landlord record down. The other thing you might want to think about daily in terms of your finances are any arrears that you have to chase. We recommend that you do that via your top finance menu and your rent arrears screen. If we change our arrears to date to tomorrow and click filter so that we're seeing all our rents that are due up into and including today, I'll have a list there of my rent arrears. I've got 89 sat there in my system at the moment. You can chase your rent arrears from this screen, as is covered in our receiving payments video. But just to cover briefly, you can filter the screen to look at the particular arrears you want to see. And then we can contact either by text, letter or email in bulk everyone within this selection. Or we can click Add Note if we're going to be phoning them and want to record that we've spoken to them and update the contact details. While chasing, if we receive any payments in, we can do that from this screen. And they will then disappear from our arrears list and will appear to be paid to the landlord in our next payment run. There are just a few month-end procedures to cover with you also. The first and most important of which is reconciling. For more detail on reconciling, please see the reconciliation video. But just as an overview again for you, from the top finance menu and your accounts sub-menu, you've got manual reconciliation. We're going to select the date range of the month that we're reconciling, and we're going to click the search button. Expert Agent will load for us all the transactions that we've recorded within that month. And we're going to work down our bank statement, marking those transactions off as reconciled as they match with our bank statement. Any that don't match with our bank statement, we won't be ticking. So you'll see receipts in here along with payments. And once you're happy you've ticked everything off, you're going to click Manually Reconcile Selected Entries in the top right-hand corner and confirm that we want to reconcile. An expert agent will confirm that those transactions have been successfully reconciled. Any that we didn't tick because they didn't match what was showing on our bank statement, we're then going to go back into the record itself and correct the transaction. So for example, if a payment that we've put onto the system, a receipt that we put onto the system doesn't match with the receipt that's come into the bank account, we're going to go onto the record of that receipt, cancel that receipt and pop it back on at the correct amount. So we're going to make sure that everything matches. Any amendments that we need to make, we're then going to go back into our manual reconciliation, reload our period again, and research. We can then select those amended transactions for reconciliation and manually reconcile them. Once everything has been reconciled and we've marked off everything that's on our bank statement as being on expert agent and everything that's on expert agent as being on the bank statement, so the two match, there are a few reports that we're going to run. From your top finance menu, you've got reporting and bank reconciliation. We're going to enter our month date range. Click to include balance brought forward and report. This will show us all our transactions for the period. Hopefully everything's been reconciled with our totals at the bottom, including any unreconciled balance there. We're going to either print or export to CSV and run that report off to be held alongside our bank statement for the period. We'll also want to run our ALA report up until the end of the period. The ALA report will show you a breakdown of your client account balances on a client-by-client basis with a total at the bottom. Again, we'll want to either print that off or export it to CSV and hold it along with our bank rec report and our bank statement so that we've got our three-way reconciliation should our bookkeeper or accountant ask us for it. Another report that you might find useful is the top finance menu, review and sales invoices credit notes. Running that for our period in question. Will show us all the invoices that we've raised for the month with their invoice number and a VAT breakdown of that particular invoice, along with whether it's been paid or not. At the bottom, we'll have some totals. We can export this to CSV if we want to import it into our main office accounting, or we could just print it off, and we've got the figures there that we need to be entered into our main office accounting for those invoices that we've raised via the client account. It's also worth checking on a regular basis that within your unallocated funds tenancies, you haven't forgotten to allocate any receipts against charges. So just check through this list to confirm that you're happy with what's in here, should be a balance relating to that tenant. And that you don't need to go into that particular tenant and make the allocation to allow you to pay that money across to the landlord. Equally, it's worth checking via your managed deposit section that you haven't forgotten about any deposits that need to be registered. Everything in this first section here, deposits to be paid into or registered with scheme, hasn't been dealt with. So if you have any deposits sat in this section, ensure that they should be there and that you haven't forgotten to register a deposit or pay it across to the scheme. And the last thing that it's useful to check is using your right-hand toolbar under your finance quick links that hopefully you've set up. You're aware of anything that needs doing in there. So within my finance quick links here, I've got quick links set up for my office landlords with payments due, which are 4 at the moment. So those will be the landlords sat within my landlord payments section that I haven't made payments to. So do I want to make any payments to any of those? Office landlords with insufficient funds. So I've got 15 landlords at the moment with a negative balance. So maybe these are landlords. Some of these may be let-onlys where the invoice that we've charged wasn't quite covered by the first month's rent. So these landlords owe monies to us. What we might want to do is untick any that we are aware of. But then send a statement to the rest, requesting payment. And we can see that we've paid 16 landlords today. And within the last 30 days, we've paid 20 landlords. So your right-hand toolbar in terms of your finance is a good place to keep on top of anything that needs doing. So that's a basic daily procedure for you, along with some additional useful areas you might want to check on a regular basis, and also a brief overview as to your month-end procedure. As we said at the start and during the video, if you want any more information on anything that we've covered within this video, each section that we've covered is covered in more detail in its own specific video, so please do refer back to those for more information. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video.